From the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, Consider This with Kathy Wyatt, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to the 28th season in this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, the Edge District. Joining us to talk more about it is Dr. H. Deli Davies. Dr. Davies is the interim chancellor at UNMC. Thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thanks for having me, Kathy.
You bet. I want to start by asking you to describe present day UNMC.
Well, present day UNMC is a very exciting, dynamic place with a lot of activities. Of course, we continue our usual mission of educating the next generation of healthcare providers for the state of Nebraska. But at the same time, we also have a lot of engaging research activities. We provide care for our patients through our partnership with Nebraska Medicine. And, we have a lot of activities in the community that engages the communities in which we live in.
Okay, thank you. And what is your role there, Doctor?
So I have the distinct honor of serving as the interim chancellor, helping oversee the campus.
Wow. That was said so simply, but it involves so much. What is your day-to-day like, especially now?
Well, my day-to-day life is working with an incredible team of extraordinary, talented people to make sure that all aspects of our campus life are going well. So it's really the day-to-day operations, making sure that the facilities, the education, the clinical care, and the engagement that we do go in a good fashion, but also the strategic, right? Always looking forward and thinking about how do we not only sustain the incredible growth we're going through right now, but also thinking about how we go to the next level. And so that often includes, partnering with not just the communities we serve, but philanthropists, the state government, and all kinds of people to make sure that we are, our mission is to lead the world. Yeah. And so that's going to always takes a lot of planning and visioning.
When did you join the team at UNMC?
So I've been at UNMC since 2012.
Okay.
I came initially as the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and then when President Gold became the Chancellor at UNO, I became the Senior Vice Chancellor. So I've been doing that for about 7 years before being promoted to becoming the interim chancellor. So 12 years, basically as second in command at UNMC before this current role.
What were you doing prior to your introduction to UNMC?
So I'm a pediatrician by training, and I specialize in infectious diseases of children. So prior to coming to UNMC, I was chairman of the Department of Pediatrics at Michigan State University.
Wow, okay.
For almost 10 years.
Okay. Over the time that you've been there, what would you say to our viewers are the accomplishments that have really put UNMC on the map?
There's so many, but I'll highlight a few, Catherine. I think the first thing is we've had 24 straight years of consecutive enrollment growth. So we've had, every single year that I've been at UNMC, our enrollment has gone up. And a lot of that has been just basically trying to meet the healthcare workforce needs of the state of Nebraska. So we have campuses across the state, 500 miles wide. We have campuses in Omaha, Lincoln, Kearney, Norfolk, and Scottsbluff. And we have healthcare providers that are being trained and being put not only here in Omaha, but being put throughout the state, because we know that there's a huge workforce shortage. So we see that as an important role that we play, and we continue to do that, every single day. Another major accomplishment has been just our growth in research, the discovery. So, right now, UNMC actually is responsible for $240 million in research spending every single year. And with every $1 million, that's 15 to 30 jobs that are created with every $1 million of research dollars that we bring in. So think about the discoveries in the area of cancer, neuroscience, in the area of endocrinology, infectious diseases. As you well know, UNMC is considered one of the leaders in the area of health security. We were one of the first places in 2014 when the patients with Ebola were being brought back to the United States. We were one of the 3 or 4 places that actually took care of patients with Ebola. We just celebrated our 10th year anniversary of opening our biocontainment center. So we are now known as a national and global leader in health security. So when the Department of Defense, the CDC, the Assistant Secretary for Response and Preparedness, when they're looking to see who to look at in terms of how do we train all our healthcare providers, not just in the private sector, but also within the military and within the branches of the Department of Defense, they look to UNMC. So we actually have a national center for health security right here at UNMC and the Davis Global for Health Security. I mean, those are just 2 examples of the incredible excellence that has, permeated over the last, several years at UNMC.
Well, that's a big testament to leadership. And I wanted to ask you, you've been there long enough now, Doctor, and had enough influence. Is there any one thing that sticks out in your mind when someone asks you, tell me about UNMC, that really makes you just really proud of what it is you're doing there with your team?
Absolutely, Kathy, is the people. The people. The culture at UNMC is really one where we recognize that we have great buildings, and we've invested, literally hundreds of millions of dollars in buildings. We have great programs, and again, that's very important. But at the end of the day, we are very fortunate that we've been able to get the very best people, not just from across the country, but around the world, to work at UNMC. We have people that, I am humbled to be around, because these are people from some of the leading institutions in our country and some of the leading institutions around the world. So, as you pointed out, nothing happens by chance. It's always through careful planning. But you can't accomplish anything unless you can get the very best people around the table and inspire them to accomplish great things.
Wow. And you obviously had that from what we're all seeing in this area west of Saddle Creek, right? Tell us how this started. I would imagine that UNMC is constantly looking not just for awesome people, but for the land or for property that is really going to help in that strategic planning piece. So when was it that you first noticed that, and then how did things kind of progress from there? So
it's a great question. So we have a regular master's facilities planning that we do every 3 years or so. And we look at a strategic planning process, our mission, our vision, and how we're going to get to where we want to go. So our mission is to lead the world in transforming lives through, extraordinary educational programs, research programs, and clinical care. And in order to do that, we're always looking to ask the question, what do we need to accomplish those goals? Now, as you know, we are, near Midtown, Nebraska, and there's that parcel of land, as you pointed out, that was just west of us. That was clear to us that if we were going to look for opportunities for growth at some point, we would need to have, it would make sense for us to have access to that site and have control of it, so we will be able to meet our mission. And so as part of that, in early maybe 2010-ish, we started to look at those properties, and as they were coming up for sale or approaching some of the people around that parcel, which was a nice, neat parcel, we had the vision that we could do something really special here. And so around 2010, we started to have focus groups trying to get not just our own students, faculty, and staff, but also the community, our partners within the legislature, within the state government, community partners, the neighborhood associations, just trying to envision what that area could look like and what could we do there. And out of that was born this vision of creating a hub, a hub of innovation that will help develop the next generation of companies that are going to help bring the discovery. A lot of these discoveries we have at UNMC every day, which right now many of them leave the state to become companies or to become products that can benefit Americans. So the vision was very clear that if we created a hub that allowed our special discovery, like all our researchers, when they come up with a product, and other people who have ideas and products that are tied to healthcare, and we engage them with entrepreneurs, right, within the community who have a vision for how they grow companies, and then we bring in other partners such as the city, the legislature. We can create something really special, and that's what the idea was behind that whole district, is really to think about how we can catalyze the development of new companies and bring in the people who have the ideas and the people who've created something that could become a product that's important for improving the healthcare of Nebraskans and people around the country, but partnering them with the people who have the resources, the experience, and the ability to make companies come alive.
Wow, so 14 years in the making. Recently you unveiled, right, the name of this area. Talk to us about the name and the story behind it.
Well, the name, The Edge, actually is a nod to several things. One is that whole parcel of land. It's about 27 acres. It's a triangular shaped parcel of land, and it's really on the edge of our campus. So that was a nod to, first of all, the location of that parcel of land right on the edge, on the western edge of our campus, just west of Saddle Creek. So that was one thing, but also we wanted to sort of capture the essence of what we're trying to do in that area. So, we want the opportunity to explore, right? That's the E. The E stands for that. Then the next is just the D is discovery, right? So once we've explored ideas and we have people who are coming up with product ideas, then the discovery process, right? And then the G is to grow. We want to grow companies. But then the E is really engaged. Like the issue here is that whole district, we want it to be a hub where people want to come to shop, to have a good meal, to have opportunities to engage with one another. So it's a district, just like some of the other districts we have in Omaha, where you can go and have a nice cup of coffee or get together with a friend and get some exercise done, or just to engage with one another. So it's more than just a place for our faculty, staff, and students to go, but some of them will actually maybe live on that parcel of land and make it part of their whole community.
Wow. Okay, we have some renderings, and you said 27 acres,
27
right?
acres.
So we have 5 renderings
Yes.
that we're going to show our viewers, and as we're putting each one of those up, Doctor, just tell us from your perspective what's important for us as part of this community, part of the state, to know about them.
Okay. So, well, first of all, I want to thank Holland Basham Architects for these renderings. So you can see the triangular shaped district. This is really obviously a rendering of what it's going to look like later on. But right now we have 2 buildings that are already going up. One's called the Catalyst building, which is really a building that's actually going to open as early as January or December of this year. And it's going to be a place where we're going to have our intellectual commercialization company or part of our university, our tech part of our university, with other people who are trying to start up healthcare companies within the state of Nebraska, and also entrepreneurs will be in there and people who just have helped develop companies. So that's the Catalyst building. Right here is a rendering of the pedestrian bridge. So as part of our development of this site, of course, we've partnered closely with the city of Omaha, and some of our federal delegations have helped us to get some funding. And so this is a pedestrian bridge that will allow people to go walking and biking and stay fit. And so this is, you can see the pedestrian bridge really nicely there, which really, again, in terms of how busy this whole area is, we want people to feel safe when they're crossing from one side of the campus to the Edge district. This here to the left there is a rendering of what will become our project next, which is we're in the planning stage for something we're calling Project Next, which is a $2.2 billion project to really catalyze our training of our students, clinical research, and also bring in state-of-the-art clinical care to use all the technology that's available to us to be able to provide the best care to the citizens of Nebraska than we'd ever had. So that's actually a project that's been approved by our Board of Regents. We're in the intensive planning phase for that right now. So you can see the rendering of that to the left towards, where the sign of Holland Basham. And of course, you see the district there to the right, just on the other side of Saddle Creek. And then this is sort of, again, an image that shows you to the left here would be the catalyst and the core buildings. And then to the right, you just see that new roadways that are being created to allow free motion of traffic. Because one of the things that we want to make sure is that there are no log jams as people move through and come and live and work in this area. So again, just a great nod to Holland Basham to show you that it'll be a place where people can come and engage with one another. And of course, to the left there, we'll have the opportunity for some creative work to go on, setting up companies and helping to grow them right here in Omaha and in the state of Nebraska. And then this is just a skylight view where you can see where that tall building to the left there is sort of gives you a sense of proportion of what that Project Next building will look like in terms of also adding to the skyline. So you can see behind it is the Buffett Cancer Center, and then we have 2 research towers to the right there, just east of Saddle Creek, that are sort of almost like at an angle to one another, like a Pac-Man. Those are currently existing Durham Research Buildings 1 and 2, where we conduct a lot of our research. And then you can see the whole new development there, west of Saddle Creek, what it would look like, including the possibility of, we can see some parking structures there with some apartments wrapped around them. So this is really just, again, a rendering of what, when it's fully developed, what it may look like.
And what about this, Doctor? This is the logo.
Yes.
Tell us.
So the logo, again, is a nod to sort of the triangular shape, but also the fact that, obviously looks like an E, which is sort of the first letter of the edge. And the multi-colored, the multi-colors, and again, a nod to the fact that we're going to have the university is going to be there, the community partners, the neighborhood associations, we're going to have businesses there. And it really just pointing out to the fact that this is a partnership between UNMC and so many other groups in the community, including, of course, the state government, the our federal delegation, our state legislature, our Board of Regents. So this is really a nod to the fact that this is something that we're doing, but we're not doing it alone.
I have to ask you, you said you've been on board since 2012,
yes.
right? And this really kind of started, it was in the works in 2010. I can't even imagine how it feels, right, to be at the helm of something like this, to have gone the years that you've gone watching and being actively engaged in everything that's happening. Talk about that from a leadership perspective.
So, I have to give a nod to President Gold, Chancellor Gold right now, who obviously has been the leader till I took over in July. I have to give a nod to Jim Linder, who is also the CEO of Nebraska Medicine. I have to give a nod to a lot of our senior leadership team, including Jen Bartholomew, who oversees our facilities. This has been obviously a visionary thing that's happened, that's taken a long time to come to fruition, but there have been so many key people involved in making it a reality. And I have the incredible honor of being able to be the chancellor as it's coming to fruition. Certainly, it's an incredible, to me, just has been incredible to be a part of UNMC, period, and just watch how we've grown over the last 12 years that I've been there. Every day it's always something exciting.
Well, I would imagine they would have the same kind words for you too,
Thank
Doctor.
Thank you.
I know one of the biggest questions our viewers are likely asking right now is, that's so cool, when is it going to come to fruition? Talk about the project timeline.
Okay, so obviously this is a district, and there'll be different things coming to life at different times. So right now there are 2 buildings that are well on the way. One is the Catalyst building that I mentioned earlier. That is actually a partnership with Green Slate and Colbell, those are sort of two developers in the community who are actually taking the leadership in developing that and going to help bring other partners onto that site. UNMC is integrally involved in owning part of that structure, but the rest of it is going to be in partnership with Colbell and Green Slate. So that one's actually, Catalyst will be open as early as the end of December, early January. Core is another building that's going up on the northeastern part of the campus, and that's a building that's going to house some of our administrative offices. But more importantly, it's going to have laboratories that are not just for our own researchers, but will be available to be rented out to people who also want to collaborate and do research there that could lead to other companies. So the idea there is to, again, bring in partners who don't necessarily want to go build their own lab, but can have access to not just our own laboratories, but a lot of the facilities and equipment that we have at UNMC, and help to grow, again, the ecosystem there. And then that building will also have some, what we would call more dry labs. These are sort of laboratories where you don't, it's not really a place where necessarily you step in and you have pipettes, but it could be computers that you're using for high fidelity or maybe high, that need a lot of computing power to basically answer some important questions. So that building is, again, on the way, but that one's going to be more towards the end of next year. Okay. We have a parking structure that's going up in partnership with the city. Obviously, we're going to have parking if we're going to. That's going to be owned by and operated by the city, and there's opportunity to wrap some apartment buildings around that. We have the pedestrian crossings that I showed you. That's one's going to go east to west across Saddle Creek, and then the other one's going to go over Leavenworth. And again, that's on the way, and those again will be coming in maybe more 2027. So a lot of different projects, but over time, we're going to be, again, very thoughtful about what goes into that district. It's going to be, we're going to continue consultations with our leadership team, our faculty, staff, students, the communities we serve, the district partners, and making sure that, everybody's on the same page and we continue to build this vision.
Wow, generating a lot of excitement. So we've talked a little bit about benefit to community, benefit to the state. So our viewers in Scottsbluff are watching and saying, okay, that all looks really neat, really great for Omaha. How am I affected by that? So
this is a great question, and here's what we need our viewers in Scottsbluff to know. For example, Project Next, which is one of that's not going to be directly in the area, but that's going to be a hospital that's going to allow all critical access hospitals across the state who need to transfer any kind of patient who needs high intensity to be able to know that they have a place of last resort. They'll be able to take those patients. We have a whole cancer development program and team that actually we have a network across the state of Nebraska that as the opportunities are opening up in Omaha, we're also spreading them and sharing them across the state. So actually I was giving a talk at a Rotary recently in Norfolk, and somebody in the audience talked about the fact that they've never stepped foot in Omaha, but we're so grateful to the Cancer Center because a lot of the care that we're receiving was being done in consultation with physicians in Omaha. For the district itself, when we start to talk about building companies that are going to help, they're not going to just be located in Omaha. The products of those companies are going to benefit all Nebraskans, whether you're in Omaha or Broken Bow or Norfolk or Scottsbluff. So, and of course, the economic impact is something that will lead to generation of taxes that will benefit the state overall as well. So, we train students from all over the state, and not just here in Omaha, but across the state. And all these activities will be opportunities for those students who actually, no matter what part of Nebraska they may be interested in, who may be interested in learning more about this sort of type of, public-private partnerships, entrepreneurship, could actually come and be a part of this and then take this back to their communities. If there are ideas of things that people want to solve, in Norfolk, in Scottsbluff, that they may not have the resources of the knowledge, again, those ideas can be brought to this as an incubator. And then once they're developed, they can be taken back to the communities involved. So this is really a project that will impact every single part of the state of Nebraska.
Wow. I was going to ask you, we have just a few minutes remaining, the future of healthcare. And I know you don't have a crystal ball, but this sounds like, you know, you've obviously put a great deal of thought into this, and at some point, you know, you're going to intersect that future, and extremely successfully, as UNMC has been doing. But tell us a little bit about what your vision is moving forward in about the 2.5 minutes we have remaining.
So I believe that the future of healthcare is the one in which we mobilize not just what we know today, but the power of artificial intelligence that's brought in a way that's humane and that also continues to be human-centered and also gives nod to the voice of the patient in making decisions. So the future of healthcare is going to involve a lot of personalized medicine. So rather than somebody coming in perhaps with a disease and we say they have breast cancer, but we'll be able to look at that individual patient, look at their genetic profile, and look at their lifestyle, look at who they are, and say this is the best treatment for you based on your own individual profile. Artificial intelligence will play a major role in that, but it's also going to be a lot of discovery. Actually, we already are there in many of the diseases we take care of. I think more importantly, you're going to see a lot of opportunity to innovate in healthcare. So we have a lot of technology available to us today that we did not have even 10 years ago, because the rate of growth in the knowledge that we have is exponentially growing. So the future of healthcare is one in which I think there'll be a lot of empowerment of the individual patient to be involved in their own care, but we'll also have the ability to take care of patients in a much better way, because we'll be able to train our trainees better, because they'll have an opportunity to get a lot more simulation and be competent much more than, you know, we're doing, but we're going to continue to improve on that.
Wow.
So it's a very exciting future.
Talking with Dr. Deli Davies today, right, about the EDGE District. Folks wanting more information can go right here, EDGE District, edgeomaha.com, or you can email ryan.lawson@unmc.edu. Dr. Davies, I want to thank you for being here and sharing your time and expertise, and for your leadership at UNMC. Keep up the great work there.
Thank you, Kathy. It's a pleasure to be here, and a great honor to be serving at UNMC.
You bet. Thanks to our students who are working so hard behind the scenes, and all of you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television in the School of Communication. More information and program archives can be found at nebraskapublicmedia.org/considerthis. If you'd like to share your comments about this program, call the UNO School of Communication at 402-554-2600 during regular business hours, or send an email to cwyatt@unomaha.edu.
There seems to be like this gathering right here of really great minds and really great ideas.
I think it's a great moment, to teach a UNO student.
Being here, I get like a jump start on my journalism career.
I found a lot of people that are interested in like the same things as me.
Sort of a lifetime changing career for me, and the best way it could happen.